Today, for our Deweying history debate, we're going to be talking about monetary policy. To do that, we're going to first listen to this song called The Farmer and the Man. Try and establish how this song from the 1890s might help us understand a problem that's happening today. In order to study monetary policy, we need to actually understand what monetary policy means. So we're going to go to this link and find on the Federal Reserve's website, monetary policy in the United States comprises the Federal Reserve's actions and communications to promote maximum employment, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates. So who's in charge of monetary policy? That'd be the Federal Reserve. And their three roles are promote employment, keep prices stable, and moderate long-term interest rates. Monetary policy has been debated since the founding of the country. It's shaped by the Federal Reserve, which was created in 1913 after a crisis in 1907. It's our fourth national bank. The Fed, through controlling the amount of money in circulation, has a great influence on the economy. We're going to learn in this article just exactly how that is. So you listen to the article, and you're going to find out, right? Donald Trump says, no, my biggest threat is the Fed because the Fed is raising rates too fast. So what is it the Federal Reserve just did? They just raised the rates. The rates they're referring to are the rates on loans. So instead of a 2% rate on a loan, it could be a 3%. And if you're borrowing thousands and thousands of dollars, 3% could add up. We need to understand why President Trump is opposed to doing that. Let's see. This right here. When presidents are unhappy with the Fed, it's almost always for the same reason. Presidents want lower rates, easier credit flowing through the economy that can boost growth and not coincidentally make presidents more popular. If rates are lower, people are able to borrow more money. If people are borrowing more money, that means they have easier credit. If they can borrow more money, it means they're going to buy new homes. It means they're going to buy new cars. They're going to take out loans. If people are taking loans for money, then they're going to spend that money. That money goes into the economy. For example, if I buy a new car, that money goes to not just the place that sold me the car, but it goes back to the car factory. And that money at the factory is used to pay the workers. The workers then have more money. They have a job. They spend their money. You can see how it could help the economy in general. So if it's good for the economy, why do people oppose it? That's because it can lead to inflation. Inflation is what happens when the value of your money goes down. What you used to be able to buy for $4, you now have to spend $5 on. If you don't like the idea of the money you have losing value, you're going to be opposed to more money entering the economy. So those people would support a higher rate. So if you're debating this right here, if you want it to be easier for people who don't have money to get loans, you're going to oppose the raising of the rates, just like President Trump. But if you have money and you're worried about the value of that money, then you would support the raising of those rates. I'm going to now go back in time and study something called the Bimetals and Resolution. The question here is, should American monetary policy support expansion or stability in the economy? We're going to talk about William E. Chandler's Bimetals and Resolution. Chandler's resolution said, resolved, the United States should not permanently accept the single gold standard. The efforts of the government in all its branches should be steadily directed to secure and maintain the use of silver as well as gold as standard money, with the free coinage of both. under a system of bimetallism to be established through international agreement or with such safeguards of legislation as will ensure the equality of the value of the two metals at a fixed ratio, provide a sufficient amount of metallic money, and give immunity to the world of trade from violent fluctuations in exchange. So let's just evaluate the word bimetallism. Bi meaning two, just like bicycle, two wheels. Metallism, we're talking about metal, two metals. Let me try and explain this to you. Way back a long time ago, we used to actually have money that was based on a metal. You used to be able to go and exchange your money, your paper money, for a certain value of gold. The problem with this is that your money we only can have as much money as we have gold. So there's quite a restriction on the amount of money in the economy. This means it's harder to get the money. If we base our money on silver as well as gold, that's going to lead to more money being available. So what you need to understand about bimetallism is that we're going to base our money on both gold and silver, and that's going to lead to more money in the economy. If there's more money in the economy, as we learned from our article at the start, we're going to have inflation. So we need to understand the Bimetals and Resolution is going to lead to us using gold and silver to back our money. That's going to lead to easier availability of money, and it's going to lead to inflation. We need to figure out the historic context to see how we ended up debating bimetallism. Way back in 1792, the Secretary of U.S. Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, suggests the U.S. use a gold and silver-based monetary system. So we need to understand the very start of our country, we were using both gold and silver. In 1862, we started authorizing paper greenbacks as legal tender. 1862, we're fighting the Civil War. The war is very expensive. Because it's expensive, we need more money. So we printed paper money. In 1873, the Coinage Act of 1870 ends the use of silver coins. If we end the use of silver coins, that's going to take a lot of money out of the economy. That's going to mean money is harder to get. Is that going to make some people's lives harder? In the 1870s, farmers' alliances formed. Farmers were unhappy about low prices for farm products and high prices for farming machinery. They were unhappy about the railroads and the power of the railroads, and they were unhappy about their debt to the banks. These farmers thought inflation would solve their problems. Let me scroll you down to this hypothetical here. So let's say you're a farmer and you owe $10,000 for your house. If under the gold standard, you're making $1,000 a year on your crops, it's going to take you 10 years to pay off your debt. If we introduce bimetallism and start using silver as well, while your money would lose some value, it means as a farmer, your crops are going to bring in more money because of inflation. So that corn you used to sell for $100 and you ended up making $1,000 a year, under inflation, you're going to start making $2,000 a year. This is basically going to cut your debt in half. Hopefully that makes sense. Farmers liked the idea of inflation because it would make it easier for them to pay off their debts. So the People's Party was a political party that was formed in 1892, and one of their keys to the platform was the idea of free silver, meaning that they were going to go back to coining silver, and that's going to lead to the inflation. In 1896, Populist Party supports Democratic presidential candidate William Jennings Bryan. We're going to read his Cross of Gold speech. So what do you need to know about the historic context? For how long had we been debating what we should use for money, gold and silver? Since the very beginning, correct? what had happened over time. We go back and forth between using gold and silver. We stopped using silver, and what group of people in America were unhappy about that? Remember that farmers felt that it made their lives harder. So who was supporting going back to bimetallism? Which group of people? Now we're going to read some quotes from the past to try and find out why people would support or oppose this. Our guiding question for section 1, why do people believe the government's monetary policies should try to help people left behind in the economy? William Jennings Bryan, this man right here, is going to explain to you why that is. He said, the merchant at the corner store and the farmer in the field are as much businessmen as the merchant of New York and the man who works on Wall Street. We speak for this class of businessmen. We are fighting in the defense of our homes and our families. We asked, we petitioned, and we begged. But we were ignored and mocked. We beg no longer. We defy them. You come to us and tell us that the great cities are in favor of the gold standard. I tell you that the great cities rest upon these fertile prairies. Burn down your cities, leave our farms, and your cities will spring up again as if by magic. But destroy our farms and grass will grow in the streets of every city. Having behind us the commercial interest and the laboring interest and all the toiling masses, we shall answer their demands for a gold standard by saying to them, you shall not press down upon the brow of labor this corn of frowns. You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold. Pretty strong language from William Jennings Bryan. This idea here, crucifixion, who would that be a reference to? If we're to think about crucifixion, it's a way to execute somebody, painful execution. What is he saying the gold standard is doing, especially to the working people, the farmers, the factory workers? William Jennings Bryan is arguing that the common man's life is harder under the gold standard. So what in this speech are his reasons for why the government should focus on helping people left behind in the economy? Who are the people that the government should be trying to help? Think about that and how it would relate to today's debate over monetary policies. Who do some people think the government should be trying to help? Is it the people who are already successful, or is it the people who are struggling? Are the people who are struggling the ones who need to take out loans? Consider that. For our next document, we're going to look at this cartoon from artist William Hope Harvey in the book Coins Financial School. What do we see in this cartoon? Here's Coin saying, take your choice. We can either work under a bimetallism or we can work under monometallism. What seems to be going on under bimetallism? Factory worker, happy, family doing well. What's going on in the factory in the background? It's blowing out smoke, so that means it must be operating. What happened under monometallism in 1894? What's happened to the factory? It didn't have funds, so it closed. So he lost his job. If he lost his job, can he feed his family? What's the main idea here? If we can take a choice on how we're going to make decisions in the economy, do we try and focus on helping people? Should we avoid doing things that hurt people? If we make funds harder to get, will that make some people's lives harder? So if in the first document, we're talking about how we should try and help the people. What should we not do according to the second document? Because I've run short on time to record this one, I'm going to make 2 different YouTube videos. So you're going to have a second link here.